Hi everyone, I've just finished my first Zwift race, so if you want to watch along with me, you can. I'll give you a little bit of information about how we're going to Zwift, what I've been doing. Technically it's my second Zwift race, but the first one I didn't race, I just joined to see what it was all about and hung on for dear life. Yeah, so like everything, I'm ramping up the power here before we kick off. I'm at the front because I think I joined first. I think that's a good tip, isn't it? If you don't want to be at the back. I'm in the D group. This is actually a race where I quite like this format, especially when you're a D rider like me and a beginner. This is where the D riders get a 6-minute head start on the C riders, and they get 4-minute, 5-minute head start on the Bs, and then I think we're 12 minutes ahead of the As before they're allowed out of the pen. And the idea is that we're the mice. The C riders are the cat, the B riders the dog, and I guess the A riders are the wolves hunting us all down. So I think see there's quite a lot of power for me, but I've watched quite a lot of videos, and I'm sure you have if you're watching this one. And you've got to be in that front group. That I don't think there's that many of us. There's only about 20 of us in the D group. But straight away there was a bit of a split, so I had to whack some power down. So I don't normally ride along on my own doing anything over 200. My pace is around, I don't know, 160, 180. Used to be when I started. I'll just give you that. I shouldn't be anywhere near the front, by the way. We'll talk about the tactics in a bit, but yeah, I got Zwift on the 22nd of December, did about 5 hours in December, and then I've got a bit hooked to it. I've done about 22 hours, 23 hours maybe, not including this ride, in January. So yeah, I've been quite at it. Don't think I ride more than an hour. I always do an hour. Sometimes I think I've done an hour and a half is my biggest one. Hills are my nemesis, that you'll probably see how I cope with that. But can I get a podium? That's the thing. I shouldn't be able to get anywhere near podium being a beginner, but and I've got a glass of wine to join this with you, so we can see how we're getting on. So what I found amazing at the beginning really was, yes, we had to throw some power down to get in that front group, and I'm still throwing some power down. Look, you can see I just didn't want to lose that front group. So this is quite hard for me, but I did a bit of a warm-up. I watched some videos and I thought, do you know what, if I warm up, at least my legs are pumping to start with, because when I do group rides and I join them and I haven't warmed up, I'm really struggling even to keep about 160, 180. So I got on the start line early and did a few sprints, did a bit of this, did a bit of that, got my heart rate. You see, I've got quite a low heart rate. I played a lot of football in the past, and I do have a naturally low heart rate of about 60, somewhere near that resting heart rate. So I got it up and got it pumping, just to get my legs working a little bit, so that, in the middle of rides and at the end of group rides when I've been doing them, I found it quite halfway through I get my legs, so I thought, let's try and not kill my legs, but let's wake them up and see how they're getting on. And straight away you can see here, if you look, there's a few behind me now, and I'm thinking, oh my god, we're breaking up into a group, and you can see the map at the top. It's sort of stretching a little bit. Now, I was just a bit worried, and having no experience of riding in a race, but having quite a lot of experience of riding in groups or with pace riders, which I think is good practice for this, sort of stayed in the same gear nearly all the way on the flat. And just whenever I was tailing off anywhere, I would just increase the cadence a bit and then try and not get to the front, try and stay in the group, try and benefit from the draft. I was doing all of the right things. So you can see now my watts. Didn't take long, did it? With 3 minutes in, all of a sudden we're at a 140, 150, 160, occasionally popping up to a 200 if I think I'm losing out a little bit. But I'm trying to stay in the top 10 really. That's all I'm trying to do. And you'll find, you can see me bombing away in the bottom corner there, but one of the things I'm trying to do is not get dropped from the front group, not even knowing if there was going to be a second group. But you will see there is a few splits in a bit, and we end up with a lot less. And I'm assuming the guys behind us are having to put a little bit more effort to close them gaps, and you'll see me doing that in a bit. But yeah, I'm quite happy now. You know, my heart rate's 116. I'm occasionally going up to 200 watts, which is quite a lot for me. I can't sustain that really. My FTPs was 150 when I started in December. According to Zwift now, before this race, it was 191. With all the riding I've been doing, and I did look on Strava and look at my first rides compared to these rides, and what I can tend to do now is just, you know, just up my cadence a little bit and then pull up on the pedals a little bit and getting that windy motion whenever I'm losing track. So I've dropped off a little bit here, and can you see there? I mean, it's jumping up to 220, 230 just for me to think, oh, I've got to close that gap, where I should never be in that situation. I should just be sat at 150, not wasting any energy. 160 when it speeds up a little bit. Just, it's them little inclines and them little changes of pace where you don't want to overcook it and, you know, put the pedal down and go up to 250 watts and end up at the front, and then you're just wasting energy. So you can see as I'm sat up there, I'm obviously in the draft, quite happy about that. And I'm feeling all right now. You know, at the beginning I thought, do you know what, I won't even get in the front group. It is only the D riders in here, don't get me wrong. So it's not like a normal race where, which I've seen on YouTube because I've not really done one, but you're in amongst everybody else. So the A's and B's bomb off and the C's bomb off, and do you go with them? And if you go with them, you're just going to die, aren't you? I don't like it when that happens, because all of a sudden I've lost the draft there. Look, if you see, I've watched a lot of these videos, so hopefully someone will watch one of these. And you'll see every time I go for a drink, or I haven't even got my fan on yet. I think I just turned it on now, and I'm feeling okay. But every time you drop off that back, you're pushing 200 watts again to get back up again, and that's just not healthy, is it? You shouldn't be doing the spikes, you know. You should just be keeping it rounded and just be keeping in amongst the group. And I tend to do that. And I mean, you tell me how I've done at the end of this ride, but I'm always trying to stay top 10. I'm trying to not get to the front. And then when you get a bit tired later on, you get them lapses of concentration where you take a drink, or I had some little chocolates there, and I'd have that, and I'd sit back in the saddle, and all of a sudden I'm off the back, and then there's one point later on the race where I'm pushing 300 watts just to catch them up again, and I should never have dropped off the back, really. I could have just sat there happy. So it's about not, for me, I don't know if I'm doing it right, but it's about not overreacting. It's about reacting, but not to the extremes. You know, if you, because there's a few seconds delay on the power meter, you know, if you see a gap, all of a sudden, by the time you respond to it, you're off the back a bit further. So I'm always trying to think, keep around the 10th place. If they bomb off, I'm not going to go with them. I assume I'm not the best rider in here. But look, we're 7 minutes in, and I'm feeling all right. And my heart rate's 115. My power's over 200. I can't normally sustain that, and I'm guessing it's the adrenaline of a race, because normally on a group ride, you know, you can drop back. You got the sweepers. I did hang on to a 1.8 watts per kilogram to 2.2 watts per kilogram group earlier on this week, and I've never done that before, and I got all the way around in the group. Then I suppose that's where I haven't dared do a race until I knew I can sort of catch people up and not drive past them. My sprinting's terrible, so you'll see what happens at the end. But I mean, do I get a podium? Do I not? I wasn't expecting anything. I probably did better than I thought, to be honest. But as you can see, we're bombing along. What we're doing, 30 kilometers an hour. The first thing I would take from that step one, if you've never raced before, is the advice of getting in the front group. I think is massively important, or starting well, because what you don't want to be doing is that little effort at the beginning, and it's only 2 or 3 minutes, just gets you in the right area, so that when you, if you were in the second group, for instance, you'd be pushing straight away. And it's all about conserving energy, isn't it? Look at me now, I'm down to 83 watts because I think look at me, I've done really well. I've just gone to the front a little bit. But the minute you stop pedaling like that, that's a mistake as well, because all of a sudden I'm at 200 odd watts just to maintain, whereas I should have never gone down to 80 and never gone up to 200. Should just sat 150 in the group, but you just lose your concentration. And you'll see later on the left when I'm bombing away there, I'll occasionally use a towel or get a drink, and then I'm at the back again, and I'm like, what am I doing? You know, and you can see me shaking my head sometimes because I know what you should do, but knowing what you should do and doing it are two totally different things. But I'm amazed how easy this was. I mean, and I say how easy. I am pushing I'm over 150 all the time, and I brought all my FTP records on this ride, apart from the sprint records. But I think I'm tactically. I think they're scared of me at the minute. Look at them all, they're marking me. And that guy going off the front, look, we've got miles to go, haven't we? That's not going to happen because we're all doing, 39 kilometres an hour now, 40 kilometres an hour. Anyone bombing off the front's not going to sustain that. They're just going to waste energy. So remember that, though, because I accidentally bomb off the front in a minute. I'm thinking, why have I done that? And again, it's just these lapses of concentration. And you also end up, when you end up in the first 2 or 3, all of a sudden you're back down, aren't you? And you see your head go down and you're hitting the wind and you're just pushing more than everybody else should be. And there's no need. There's no need at all. Just keep in the group, mark. You don't really have to mark anything right now unless a group goes off the front. You've got to mark things later on when in the second half of the race. You've just got to keep yourself fresh, don't you? So again, looking at them figures there, 160, I can do that quite easily with all the training I've done. 24 hours training in my legs. I had a rest day yesterday. So, but look at that, straight away, what am I off the back of there for? I should never have gone off the back. But it's more than just me, isn't it? I was in a group, didn't spot it quick enough. All of a sudden, that 160 is up to 228, just to catch them up again. And then occasionally, because I was panicking, you do what I've just done here. You end up not, well, I have released a bit there, but sometimes when I think, I'm going to go at the front, I then mistakenly just drop off to about 100, and then 3 seconds later at the back again. So it's all about just, and in the second half of this race I realised that. So every time I was anywhere near the front, I just maintained 150 instead of dropping off like I do in the group rides. You know, if you're anywhere near the fence, you're in the group rides, which zap you, you end up just stop pedaling, and all of a sudden the whole pack comes past you. So it's about managing when you're near the front. I'm 5th now, look, 4th, feeling good, but then the minute you get in the top 3 or 4, you lose the draft, and then you drop back a bit, and it's that washing machine effect, isn't it? And you don't really want that. You just want, you don't want to be going backwards or forwards. You want to sit in the middle. You're going to, it's just the way it works, isn't it? But you just got to not over exert yourself when you're a bit behind, and not under exert yourself when you're at the front, because as soon as they come past you, you know, they've all got a draft, you haven't, and then you're away. So I'm in the perfect position there, look. I'm just sort of sat about 10th. I'm bombing along. I'm taking a drink, look. I'm doing 170. I can probably maintain that for an hour. I know I did the other night. So I was amazed how low it ended up going. I thought I'd be off the back here now. The good thing is, though, I'm 90 kilos. I was 93 kilos when I started. So I've lost 4 kilos, actually. I think I'm down to 89.8 or something. So I'm riding this at 90 because I haven't been under the 89s enough. But I will, I started on 93. So we're heading the right direction, and I'm assuming watts per kilogram will help. The stronger the legs get, the lighter you get, but the hills get me. So there's only 100 meters of climbing in this, and I knew that. And because I knew that, and we've only done 13 meters of climbing so far, you can see at the top. I was thinking, I'm gonna die on the climbs, because I was expecting there to be a couple of severe ones, but luckily on this ride, it was just ramping up to 1s and 2s, and then what was happening was I can get up them, they're not too bad. And then I can see that 13 going to 50, and I was thinking, oh my God, that's half the climb over. Even though there isn't any real climbs in this, it's more or less flat. There's one little ramp, which you'll see what I did. I'll talk about that when I get there, because I don't normally do what I did. But I thought I want to keep with this front group, and I know from group rides when we go up hills, I might be at the front and then I'm at the back, due to my weight. But I am getting stronger, so I normally just go down a couple of gears and spin, but I decided not to do that here because I just think I would have had too much to make up on the downhills. And there's hardly any hills and downhills. You're probably thinking this is like a mountain course. What the hell am I doing at the front? I do not know. Shouldn't have done that. That'll again be a lapse of concentration. But if you look at me pedalling away there in the bottom corner, I'm not actually suffering too much at the moment. I'm 122 heart rate, which is okay for me. It can go up to 160 my heart rate on a 165 maybe. But generally when I start getting tired when it gets to 140, and I can feel that and I start panting a little bit, but I'm good at the moment. And I'm getting a bit too confident for myself as well, because I'm starting to think I'm feeling that good, and you start seeing a couple of times where a few of us break away and people have to make that gap, and I'm thinking, well, at least I'm not in that back group trying to make that gap. So tactically, I mean, you tell me in the comments how well I've done so far. I do make a few mistakes where I end up at the front. I know there's a group gone off the front there a little bit, but I'm still in 10th place. You know, they're not going to stay away all that time, so I'm not worrying about them. I'm just trying to stay with the group, and if there's a break, I'm trying not to be in the back. But remember, these are all D riders, so I'm not expecting anyone to bomb off the front. I am expecting the C and B and A riders to bomb past us at some point, which you'll see if they do if you keep watching. Those guys are fit, aren't they? But again, this is an important part of the race, isn't it? I'm pushing out a lot of watts here to close that gap, because I'm thinking, and I'm looking also at the map on the right hand side, because you can see what watts other people are pushing out, and you can also see how far they are behind you. And you can see, if you look at C Ling there, who's right behind me, 6-7 meters. So although this isn't a massive breakaway group that's going to go at the end, the guys in the group behind are going to have to close that, aren't they? And if I was in that group, which I could have been, because I put a bit of an effort in to get back to the first group, if I was in that back group, I'd probably be thinking now, right, well, I hope somebody else pulls that back, because I don't really want to. I don't want to use any of my energy. So the decision to go back to that main group, although I was pushing out 250 watts to get there, I think was a good one. Otherwise, I'd have been sat. That gap could have grown and grown and grown. I mean, you can see they've all got back on again now, but somebody's spent some effort to do that, haven't they? So yeah, I have ridden this route a couple of times as well, I think, which helps if you're racing, because you know where the kickers are, or there's not much going on. But I have done this route twice before, I think, so Strava tells me, and then I'm off the front again. Look, I don't know what I'm doing there. I think that's because it's downhill, right? And because there's a downhill section, I'm 90 kilos. I'm thinking all of the little featherweight people who benefit from the hill, I actually benefit from the downhill. I go quicker with less effort. So I did put the pedals down a bit here, and we're doing 50 kilometers. I think when you do 56, you can go into a tuck, can't you, where you don't have to pedal and you go the same pace. I was actually hoping for it to get to that, but I didn't know the course well enough, even though I did a bit. But you see me, I'm second? And then I just think, right, well, we're coming up to half race pace. It's downhill. You know, I'm a big guy. Let's make everyone work. Let's make the light guys work for a change. And then everybody decides to jump on my coattails and do the same thing. So, but yeah, we're looking good. Not feeling too bad. Just towelled myself off there, not a drink, I think, and we're just about halfway. Again, we're still going downhill, so we've climbed 31 meters. I'm still thinking, oh, there's 70 meters here. I'm really hoping that those 70 meters aren't in one go, because then I would really just get dropped. I'm getting better with hills, don't get me wrong, but it's still on the flat. I can manage 180, 190. I can push up to 230 if I'm without changing gear as well. I just change. I just give it the old, with that circular motion on your pedals and pull up a little bit as well as pushing down. And yeah, feeling good. I'm hoping a few people are getting dropped at this point, and you can see that the gaps are growing a little bit. And but we're all in one group. You can see the map at the top. But I'm not working that hard right now. I am again because I'm at the back, because I've got my fan on, I've opened my top, so it's obviously 128 my heart rate, so it's obviously taken a little bit out of me, but I'm still there, and I'm surprised. The last race I did, I said this is my first race, but the last one I just sort of got dropped straight away and didn't really know what I was doing. I didn't go fast at the beginning. I was chasing, my legs went. So I think that effort at the beginning really does pay you back, because all of a sudden after 2 minutes you're back down to 150 anyway. This is a mistake I made here. Look, so I got the front, decided to go down to 50 watts, and then all of a sudden everyone goes past me and I'm up in my wattage. You shouldn't be going down to 50 then up to 250. You should just be staying at 170, shouldn't you? And that was all because I went to the front, and I didn't want to be at the front. And the minute you get to the front, you hit the wind, you don't lose the draft. So I'm very conscious. I haven't got any brakes, so I'm very conscious about slow down, get back in the middle. But then because there's that slight delay on your power meter of about 2 or 3 seconds, all of a sudden you're sort of 5 bike lengths back further than what you were just because of not pedaling for a few seconds. Lesson learnt there. I don't do that in the second half of the race, actually. There we go. We started. It was light. It's getting dark now. We're in the woods. And again, I'm trying to cover breakaways here. I think I watched too much Tour de France. I'm thinking, oh, these guys are going to get away, but we're not really. It does happen later on, and you can see on that map. I had the companion app on my phone on my bike, and I'd zoomed right into the map actually, because you can see these little snakes appearing instead of it being one blob with me sort of near the front of it. What you were getting was this little trail. And I've already seen there's been about four or five people dropped already, so I'm just very, very conscious about keeping in this group, and a bit scared about the hills actually. But yeah, doing all right. Just occasionally I do drop off the back and have to up my wattage. I'm working quite hard there. Look, 124 heart rate, I can cope with that, but I'm doing 240 because we're going uphill now, look. And I'm scared about dropping down a gear and spinning, which I normally do because everyone flies past me. So I've left it in the same gear because it's only a bit of a ramp. It went up to 3. Normally I would go down a gear because I'm frightened of losing energy. But I thought I've got to stay in this group. And I know even when I've dropped off the back on the flat, I've dropped off 3 or 4 bike lengths and it cost me a lot to get back. I'm thinking, look, I'm hoping the hill's only short. I'll just power through it. And if anything, I gained on the hills because of that method. Whereas normally I'd be scared because I don't know what's coming up, and I'd go down a couple of gears, spin up the hills and think, I don't know how long these hills are. They're a nightmare. I'll just catch up on the downhill if I can. I didn't do that here. I thought I'd attack the hills, hoping they weren't very long. And I was correct because there's only 101 meters climbing, I think, and we're already at 41. I'm thinking, well, unless there's a big hill, you know, it's all going to be just ramps, isn't it? There's going to be ups and downs, and so I took a gamble really on hoping that the hills were just ramps, because I couldn't see on the event what course we were riding, so I didn't know. But I have ridden this one a few times, or bits of it anyway, on other routes. So how do you think I'm doing? I think I'm doing all right. I'm trying now, and there's a couple of times when my heart rate bounces up a little bit, and then I'm just consciously looking at that 150 thinking that'll keep me in this pack, and trying to breathe a lot. You can see me sort of taking a lot of air in, not because I'm tired, just trying to get my heart rate down and just thinking, oh well, I'm not struggling here, so any heart rate I can get down and just relax, you know, and not do this yo-yoing motion. And this part of the race really went really well for me because I'm near the front again. I'm 14th, but I'm not far off the lead, am I? And then we've got a few people behind me, but it's not a big mass of them. look, I don't know how everybody else is feeling. I can't look in their faces, but I'm feeling all right. So I'm thinking, well, I've still got legs here, and I'm hanging on quite comfortably. So quite pleased with myself at this point, to be honest. But again, there straight away, I'm thinking, oh, I'm at the back of a group, and the other group seem to be dropping off me. You see, they're 2-3 meters away now. So I'm now making a conscious effort, you can see, to close that gap, get back in the draft, because that just came out of nowhere, doesn't it? Because what happened, a couple were struggling, we're going uphill a tiny bit. A couple were struggling, dropped off the back, and I'm thinking, I can't lose that front group. So I was just obsessed with staying top 10 front group, but then I overdo it sometimes. So again, I'm going through everybody here, and then I'll end up at the front again in a minute. And I didn't want to do that, but I'm just frightened of being dropped, I suppose. Frightened of put that effort in. I did see a video the other week saying, if you put an effort in and you are going to fly through the group, what's the point in losing that potential energy? Go through the group and make them chase you for a bit, and then rest when you get to the front. And I thought that was quite, it was in my head, that thinking, well, if I have spent 250 watts to catch them up again, why not just do that for a little bit longer, go through the front and make them chase you, tie them out, rather than just off the pedals and here we go again and we drop back. So you'll see occasionally, especially near the end, I'm thinking, right, I've spent all this effort to catch up, so I'm going to go through you all, go 3 or 4 meters clear, and then you're going to have to chase me a little bit. Yes, I'm going to hit the wind, but I was going to stop anyway, so why not let the wind stop you? And then back off a little bit, but not just stop pedaling like I was doing earlier on. So again, we're back at the 170s. We're still in a big group, look. You can see in the map at the top. The other good thing to look out at, and obviously I've watched a lot of these type of videos before I did my first race here. So you can see what wattage everyone else is pumping out, can't you? So it's their watts per kilogram. So it's quite a fair thing where you can say, all right, well, they're putting that out, and it doesn't really matter what weight they are because the watts per kilogram levels that out. So I can see that I'm doing 2.2, and then people in front of me and people behind me. So I was quite conscious that because it tells you that I can later on in the race you look at that, and you'll, because there's a delay, slight delay, if someone does go on attack, you can probably see they're attacking before they attack. So I was trying to do all the right things and learn all the right things. You see, I'm blowing a little bit now. I'm up to 130. That it's not a hill, but we're up to 56, so we've climbed a little bit more. It's only a 1%. But yeah, I'm all right. It's quite nice when you're on the inside of a bend as well. You get a bit of a slingshot, don't you? When you're on the outside of the bend. The other thing I was doing as well, if I was on the outside of the bend, I'd put 10 watts in extra, just so you don't lose that slingshot effect. Because if you're just on the wrong side of the road, you can lose 5 meters when the inside guys get the benefit. So when I'm on the inside, I tend to back off a little bit and stay in the group. When I'm on the outside, you see I'm in a bit of trouble here. I've got my head down. That was a lapse of concentration, that I just dropped off the back again and had to throw some watts to get back up again. I would never have done them watts. I can remember the first ride I did 20 minutes and I was blowing, and looking back at the wattage, I was only 130, 140. But I have ridden before, don't get me wrong. I used to ride on the road till I had a crash when I went to a parked car. Again, I shouldn't have been off the front there, but we're going downhill. So I again, in my head, I'm thinking I'm one of the heavier guys. The lighter guys get benefits up the hills. We go quicker down the hills with less effort. So I do kick on a little bit here because I know we're in one big group. Can you see a couple of people have dropped off? See that little yellow blob chasing where I am? So there's a few dropped off here and struggled with that. And again, it's weird because I've smashed all my records on this ride. It's weird when you're in a race, the adrenaline's actually there. Whereas when you're just riding along with a pace partner, or if you're riding in a group, you can just, I'll just drop back a bit. I'm a bit tired. But here we're actually pushing on because I saw that gap. I took a screen grab of it actually. I might put it on the screen if I went, there's a gap. So straight away, we were going downhill. I thought I'm going to attack a little bit here because I felt all right. and then everyone piles past me. But I think it was a good thing, because can you see that, you know, there's two blobs now, or there was just then. So people are getting dropped here, and I'm thinking, right, well, I'm not. So I pushed on a little bit. I tried doing it on the downhills, but I did go at the front there, took a few people with me, but I didn't drop down. When I was at the front, I didn't drop down to 60, 70 watts. I kept it at 150, and then just sort of put a little bit of an effort in to get back into that group again. And I've never kicked these watts out before, and that's just the adrenaline of racing, I'm guessing. Because you're thinking, well, if I do let that elastic band get too big and I end up off this group, I'm not going to get back. Or if I am, I'm going to have to push some real watts out. And you'll see that happens later on. And I'm pushing well over 300 watts to get back into a group I should never have been dropped from. Anyway, I'm hoping you're enjoying this video. So give me a like and a subscribe, because I'm going to start doing a few more of these. I've only done YouTube videos and stuff like that for my books before, because I'm an author. You can probably tell that from my name, author T-Lint's author, Room 119. So go check Room 119, my book, out as well, and go listen to it on audiobook while you're riding around Zwift if you want. Anyway, so I got back in. It took a bit of effort, but again, we're back in the. As long as I'm under 100, 180 is my really go-to pace. You know, if I'm kicking out 180, I'm quite happy. If I'm on my own, I'm normally sitting around 180, just bombing along, Utopia or whatever it's called. And then, yeah, we're not quite 3/4 of the way through, but I'm actually thinking, how the hell am I still in this? Because I'm a beginner, and I must admit the confident guy in me is thinking, oh, I could get a podium here. Look, I'm at the front quite a lot, and you know, I'm looking at all these other guys, but they're probably thinking, who's that bloke who keeps bombing off the front? And then they can see the wattage I'm pushing out, and they must be thinking, well, they might be thinking we've got to cover him. I doubt they are. I mean, who knows who I am? But I'm looking at a few other. I haven't really bothered thinking, oh, he's good. So they're probably not doing it to me. I'm just trying to keep him with a pack, and then hoping when we get near the end, I've got some left. I mean, I'm not a very good sprinter. I can kick some big watts out for about 5 or 6 seconds, but that's about it, really. So I'm also thinking here, because I'm feeling all right, my heart rate's come down from the 130s again. I'm thinking, right, well, if I'm anywhere near at the end, I'm going to have to go half a kilometre out and just start ramping it up to 300 watts, try and get a 400, then do maybe 5 pedals of 600, and that's me done. And then try and maintain 300 after that. This is the big hill, right? So what I do here, instead of dropping down a gear, I actually accelerate. And if you look at my wattage at 330, 345, I'm hoping this is short, but I've actually overtaken people on the hill. That never happens with me, because I'm thinking, I feel quite good. I'm going to put a big effort in to get up this hill, and luckily, look, it's gone back down to 0 straight away, and we've got a bit of a gap, and all them people are going to have to put a bit more in. Whereas if I'd done what I normally do, my go-to, if it wasn't a race, would have been spin up and catch up on the downhill. Whereas I thought, if this is just a short hill, I can probably put in 20 seconds worth of 300 watts. And that's what I did. And I think it's the best thing I did in the entire race, because you can see that map up the top now. It's stringing out, you know. And again, I do it again. So we hit a 4% climb there again. I just accelerated through the climb. I couldn't have done that if it was Box Hill or something, but I was just banking on it being quite short. And if you look at my map, that gradient seems a lot, the little grey bit at the bottom of the map. It's very hard to see the gradient on this, probably because there hardly is any. But you know, I went for it a bit there. So normally I would spin down and be in trouble. It cost me a bit. My heart rate's up to 136, but it was well worth the effort, because everybody else has had to put more effort in, I guess, over a more sustained period to catch up, whereas I put what a 10-second effort in just to get up the hill and overtook everybody. So I was quite pleased with myself there. And then I'm looking at the meters at the top at 75 meters that we've climbed, and I know there's only 100, and I thought, wow, I've actually just dealt with the biggest climb that there is, probably. There might be a couple of little kickers that come up, which might be 1 or 2, but there might be a big one, I don't know. But I'm quite pleased with myself now, because I'm thinking, well, there isn't many more hills left, which is my nemesis, and I'm still in the front group. I couldn't believe it, and I'm thinking, wow. And that front group probably have all got back together, but they've probably all spent a bit of energy to catch us up again. And I'm feeling good again. My heart rate's 132. I think I'm really conscious now of trying to get in the draft, and I'm not currently. Drop into the draft there and try and look 163, 168. I'm just thinking energy. Because I wasn't coming into this race for 1 second thinking I could win it or get a podium, but I thought if I can end in the front group and they all bomb off at the end, then fair enough. I think it's quite nice, this cat and mouse thing, because if I was in amongst A, B and C riders now, I'd be a bit demoralised trying to hang on at these guys, but we're actually vying for the lead here of the race because it's staggered. So I quite like that concept, because if we all work as a team, we could actually beat the A, Bs and Cs. They might get better times than us, but we could actually win the race because it's staggered and we get time on them. So it's quite a nice handicap system, isn't it? And again, I'm feeling all right. I've gone off the front. Power wattage has come down, but you'll probably see it kick back up to about 150, because I'm thinking instead of letting it drop like I was doing before and going off the back, as people are overtaking me because I've hit the wind, accelerate and get back in amongst it. So I'm anticipating the people coming past and then putting the power down 3 seconds before I need the power, so I don't end up off the back. And earlier on, you did see I would stop when I got the front, end up off the back, have to push 250, 300 watts to get back again. And it's just not benefiting anybody, is it? Well, it's benefiting everybody else but me. Yeah, so we're good again. And a few more people have dropped off. That group's a lot smaller than what it was before. And you'll see in a minute where the whole race changes dynamics, not because of me. I think we got the shock of our lives, to be honest, but again, I'm feeling okay. 130 is a good heartbeat for me. My cadence, if you look at that, I haven't mentioned that much. My natural cadence, if I was just riding along, would be about 75, 78. So what I'm generally doing is when I get dropped a little bit, I'm just increasing my cadence to about 90, getting back in and then dropping it back down again. So I'm trying to deal with cadence rather than gears, because what I don't really want to do is go out spinning and then my heart rate go up or put a bigger gear down. So I'm trying to just get a gear that I'm on top of the whole race. I did change it a little bit on the hills occasionally. Occasionally I would just up my cadence to about 100 and drop it down one gear, just give my legs a bit of a rest. But again, I can't believe I'm near the front. I'm like, what the hell? I'm in third position in a race. And we've probably got loads of A, Bs and Cs frantically doing about 45 clicks an hour, catching us up. But look, I'm winning. There we go. Stop the race. Stop the race now. I don't think there's any power-ups in this race either. Or if there was, I got a plus, which means, oh, thanks for that. I get like a few points to get my new wheels. Because we did go through somewhere and a plus popped up and I was like, really? Because I think you want aero, don't you? Aero's king in races. I've made a mistake here. Look, I've been dropped a little bit. Again, that I'd have to watch it back, but if you watch me in the corner, I was probably getting a little bite to eat set up, or every time, and you might not see it, but every time I use my towel, I have to take my glasses off, and then I can't see what's going on because I'm blind to that. And then I'll put them back on again. I'm like, oh, I'm at the back. So I'm kicking out some watts here just to get back. So this is a decision, isn't it? I'm pushing out 300 watts to get back in or nigh on that. But what I do quite cleverly here is I slow right down and think, hang on a minute, I'm back. So I'm trying to get my rest back after that little bit of an effort, which should never have happened. And this is where what I told you earlier on, I went through because I had the momentum. And then I kept it about 160 saying, well, you lot are going to come have to get me a bit now. And then I'm back in again and no damage done. But that's a lot better than having all that momentum and just stop pedaling, because the recovery you get from stopping pedaling or going down to about 50 for a couple of pedal strokes, it isn't the same as going through. So if you go through, you get the front, let the wind slow you down, and then it's not your effort, is it? So So yeah, again, I'm near the end of the race here. I think there is a breakaway happening here. I'm thinking, oh, somebody's going to go. You can see that group behind us. Look at the map there now. I didn't do this. Can you see all them blue blobs? So this is where we got the shock of our lives, right? So the C riders or the B riders, whatever blue is, they come flying through here, and it's so confusing on this type of race because you think, what on earth is going on? And you'll see a couple of the yellow riders up the front. They've obviously raced this before, and they thought, do you know what? If we put a bit of effort down here, 250, 300 watts, and grab their coattails and get drafting, we'll be doing like 40 clicks an hour in a draft, and that'll get us 2 minutes up the road. And that's what happened. So you can see now, nobody knows where they are. I'm 8th in the D group because it says at the top, look. I'm thinking, well, where's the other guys gone? And on the you can see I'm pushing quite hard now. If you look at me in the bottom corner, I now haven't got a clue. And I'm thinking, right, I'm pushing 240, 245 watts. I'm 10th. All the yellows, some of the yellows knew that was coming, didn't they? So they jumped on that train. I didn't see it. So I'm thinking I'm dead now. That's me, a goner. And I don't even know if the people in front of me are D riders, because it normally says on the right hand side, and if anyone can tell me why it doesn't. So I can't see that. So I'm pushing 300 watts out here just to catch a group up, hoping they're D riders, because that's who I'm racing. I'm not racing the Bs. So this is the biggest effort I'm putting in. My heart rate's 140. I've got to catch someone because I'm 8th, but I don't even know if the guys in front of me have been dropped from the group that's overtook us. And then it gets even worse in a minute because we get overtook again. So I go through all of these, and thank God, can you see I'm in 5th, 4th, and I'm thinking they were all D riders I've just come through. So I put a massive effort in. So I thought, well, why stop now? Because I could have just joined all them and settled for 4th. And at this point, I'm thinking, do you know what? I'm pushing 240 watts here. I'm doing all right. Yeah, people are flying past. So that's the other group flying past me, so I'm not bothered about them. I did put a bit of an effort in when the last group came past to try and jump on their coattails, and I couldn't do it. I didn't have enough left. But I'm in 4th now, and I'm like, well, I don't really know where the D riders are behind me, but I'm doing all right. I'm still pushing out massive watts when there's a lot to go. Look, we've got 2.1 kilometers to go. I can't maintain that. So I'm 6th, and I thought, let's settle in a little group here and get a bit of a draft for a sec, because I've just put in quite a lot of effort. I can see my heart rate went 140 odd, and I want to get it down again. So yeah, tactically, I think I wasn't expecting everyone flying past, but they did. And I'm doing all right. I'm 5th, look. So I'm feeling quite strong. I know I haven't got a sprint, or I've got one, but it lasts about 5 seconds. So I'm thinking at some point here, I'm looking at the kilometres now. My main focus is on that 1.6 kilometres to go. I thought, when can I go? I can probably go with, I don't know, 4.4 of a kilometre left. I could probably put in 300 watts again, like I've just done, and see if I can get away. So that's what I'm concentrating on. But I'm back in the 180s. I'm trying to recover now. Trying to get back in the draft. I'm still on the handlebars there, but I do drop back into the draft. I think if you look at my little me in the corner, I'm going, get back in. There you go. So I'm jumping on the back of this group. Don't want to lose them, but I'm still pushing out miles more watts than I've ever done, ever. Just because it's a race, isn't it? And I'm looking at that 5th place going, if I finish in the top 10 here, yeah, there might have only been about 18, 20, and maybe more, maybe 25 in the D group. And then the minute I saw that 3rd place there, when that popped up, I thought, because I could see in the on the map that there was a couple of yellows in that jumped on the back of that first blue group. So I get dropped a little bit here again. I'm on the outside long bend, look, so I'm having to put quite a lot of effort in, 300 watts. Again, that's unheard of for me. So that's just all adrenaline pumping, really. That's got me back in. We're at the business end. We're under a kilometre to go. And I want to get 3rd here. So I'm thinking, right, well, can I get 3rd? Is that possible? My legs don't feel that bad, but my heart's racing a little bit for me now. I know it can go higher than that. And I'm just thinking, hang on to these. They're all not my competitors. Some of these are C riders. We've just formed a little group, and I know I can get 3rd somehow. if I ride really well. If I overtake everybody here, this is the A-lot coming through about 1 billion mile an hour. I did think for a second, if I can jump on them, I might catch the other ones, but there's nothing much left here in the tank, but I'm still pushing out some watts, still just concentrating. If you look at me in the bottom left, I'm not actually feeling that bad, you know, I'm not like dying. So just trying to keep the wattage up. Everyone else is now ramping it up a little bit. 200 meters left to go, and I give it a go. Look, so 500 watts, 500 odd watts. I'm in third place, and then that's my effort probably over out the saddle. So I try and keep it, go back in the saddle and keep it up, and this guy comes past me. But I don't know who they are, so it looks like I'm going to be fourth. I'm quite pleased with that. And there we go. Not a very good finish line, was it? So I finished fourth in the D group, which is great. But when it went over to, and I'll put it on here later on, when it went to Zwift Power, actually I won, because I think they either had is it ZFTP, or they didn't have heart rate monitors, so they got disqualified. So I actually, well, it says I won, but there was one guy quicker than me, and he got the bronze, and I don't really understand why. So I'm going to put that screen grab up here, and you can see that. But look, quite happy with that. My first proper race, finished fourth, proved I suppose I can compete. It was hard work, I was blowing at the end, but I only really put that max effort in right at the end, and I probably put it in too early because people sprinted past me, didn't they?